Okay, so right now in today's class, I'm starting this area which is alignment and distribution. And when it comes to your alignment and distribution, this basically means that if you have different objects and if you have different layers either on your Photoshop or either on your Illustrator, so you can align them. So whenever you are working on either your Photoshop or Illustrator, you might be already aware of that you have different objects. You can have text documents as well, but to align them into a way, this could be one of the areas that we can discuss accordingly. So alignment basically, this is an area that allows you to make two or more objects start at a set point. For example, you can move them to right, left, bottom, or left like this. Whereas in terms of your alignment, this basically aligns the object. But before aligning, first of all, you need to select those objects and then you can align them. Align is basically like you can making the object start at the same position. So, for example, if I'm right here, this is my Illustrator artboard, and right here you can see that this is my board. This is another board, red, and let me give it another color. So you can see that as I'm making some shapes and I'm making some different colors of layers, you can actually see that all of them are open right here into my layer tab. But for example, if you want these layers to be placed into a specific area of your artboard, so how you are going to do that? So there are already a number of ways. For example, you can click on the object and you can select their orientation. For example, one, two, three, four. So you can do that by either clicking it right here or by pressing this button onto your layers tab. So when you are going to click that, you are going to see that automatically this above panel is going to be activated. So if I have pressed this, you can see that this panel is activated. So now I can align it. So this one says that if you want your object to be horizontally aligned to the left of your artboard. So this white area is basically my artboard on which I'm creating all of the artworks or I'm working with. So if you want to align that, I'm going to align it like this. So this is the case if I want to have it aligned. So you can see that as I clicked on it, as far as my artboard is concerned, artboard is the area where I am drawing all of the things. So I can change the sizes of that depending on to my requirement. So if I make it center aligned, you can see that it has horizontally aligned itself. If I make it vertically aligned, so you can see that it is horizontally aligned to the right. Similarly, you can vertically align it to the top, you can vertically align it to the center, and you can vertically align it to the end area as well. So this is the place where you can align your objects specifically with this column. Other than that, you have also here the button of transform panel. So if I'm going to click that, you can see that it has given you some of the values. You have x-axis, you have y-axis, you have the rotation. And on the same area, you have the width and you have the height as well. So if you want to increase the width of that, so you can increase that by holding the control key on the keyboard and just increasing that. And see, if I am increasing that, you can see that the width is already changing because I am working it in the width side. Similarly, if I want to change it on the height side, you can see that now the height is only changing. So if you want to transform it, if you want to place it on any other places to this artboard, you can do that by moving it here and there, by moving it here and there. So this is the area, this is the transform area. You can move it right, if you are moving it, it is giving you the coordinates of the map, so it's like where you have to place it. So this is how you can align them, this is how you can distribute them. Align means that you want the objects to be started at the same position. Other than that, you have the second option as well. This option is to be known as distribute. So you can also align these objects by right clicking right here, right clicking and then going on to transform. And as you go on to the transform, you have these options. One more thing you can do that is that you can click on multiple layers, and you can also go into the object. You can go here, transform. You can also go here, align. So this is pretty much the same way. You can either do it on that way or either with the help of this way as well. Okay, so you can also bring this panel by going on to the Windows tab, and you can click on it right here that says align. So with the help of that, you have different options. You can align objects. You can also distribute an object as well. So object distribution works like, for example, if this is an object, so just a moment, if you have many layers selected at one point, you can select them by pressing the shift key. So you can see that now you are able to distribute them. So if you have a number of layers and you want to distribute them, so you can work with this. You can actually play with this. This is the area where it says for your distribution. Distribution is like making some specific spaces between the objects, and if you want to have them equal, so you can set it right like this. Other than that, I have the layout tool as well. And in terms of your layout tool, you can view a ruler on the horizontal and vertical axis of the screen to see that how large an object is. So to work with the rulers, let me share with you. To work with the rulers, you can go on to uh, view, and on view, certainly here you are going to have the example of a ruler. Okay, right here. Here you have the example of the ruler. So when you are going to click here, it is going to give you three options: show ruler, change to global ruler, show video ruler. So show ruler. So now I have the option of the ruler. So now you have the rulers as well. So you can actually measure the size of that, and you can even change this rulers depending upon your measurements. Either if they are upon points, either if they are on pixel, inches, feet, yards, millimeters, or centimeters, or meters. Just after the ruler, you can also change it to your respective area. Other than that, you also have the option of grids. So if you want to work onto grids, what you can do is that you can go on to view, and you can click on right here, perspective grid, show grid. So this is a perspective grid, but uh, let me turn it off. Height grid and show grid, show rulers. You also have this option of grids as well, and to activate it, you can simply press the control key and this inverted comma button onto your keyboard. So this can be activated. Apart from the grids, the next area we have are guidelines, and you can even set the guidelines as well. For example, if I want to work on two areas of this artboard, so what I can do is that I'm going to click on right here and I'm going to drag and drop it right here. So I'm going to distribute it like this. This is how it can be distributed. Now, the advantage of guidelines is that they are not being shown onto the final image. They are just like an example of a line or a ruler that can help you by working, right? Like, for example, this guide is not going to be shown on your final image. This is just for your understanding. For example, if you want to have something into your this area, or if you want to work only on this area, so you can set these guidelines. These are guidelines that helps you to align the objects. Other than that, we have also some color systems as well. And I have some color standards. Like the first color standard that which we are going to discuss is an RGB one. RGB basically stands for red, green, and blue. So this basically creates a combination of different colors to have your final image or to have your final output. So for example, if this is an illustrator, so what I'm going to do, if I'm going to create a new file, you can see right here that this one states an RGB color and this one states an and CMYK color. Similarly, if you want to work on colors, if you are going to go right here, you can see that this is an RGB and this is an CMYK. This basically represents that how much your color has the right amount of color. So you can see that if I'm changing the color right here, the values are being changing itself. So similarly, if into exam you are asked to have a specific value of something, so you can adjust it right here. For example, if I want the black to be 100%, you can see that I have the black as 100%. So it is changing as per my need. So I have two areas. I have an RGB color. So an RGB color and CMYK as well. The same one is in the Photoshop as well. When you are working with the help of a Photoshop, just a moment, right here, you can see that when I'm going to click on right here, you have these different colors, either RGB. So you can make a different combination of these colors. RGB basically means red, green, and blue, and the combination of them creates a new color. And similarly, I have the HSL as well. HSL stands for hue, saturation, and lightness. These are basically some color systems that adjust your brightness, the saturation, and lightness of the color. You can even set them like right, like for example, if I am taking this is a gradient tool, I'm going to change it to the bucket tool. Now, you can see that, for example, if I have colored this right here and this one, this hue saturation. If I'm going to click right here, you can see that you can change the hue of your color. You can change the saturation of your color, and you can even change the lightness and the darkness of that. So it depends upon your reliability that which color you want. The same thing you have into your Adobe Illustrator as well. It totally depends on you. Other than that, you have the four colors as well, such as CMYK, which is to be known as cyan, magenta, yellow, black. These are the colors that are used by the printer. Your printer probably have the cartridge as well, right? Like if you have a color printer, you will be having these four colors. So these four colors are like this. These are the four cartridges that you have. And these four cartridges is basically mix and match along with each other to make different colors and combinations, right? Like one is to be understandable as the K. K is basically the black color. Y the yellow color. Magenta is this, and C is to be known as a cyan. So all of them combines together to create the color. To create the color, then I have is a CMS. So CMS is basically not a color itself, but CMS is basically a color matching system. So printer will not print colors if they do not have a CMYK. It basically depends. This CMYK has these four options of colors. If any color of them is less than the percentage that they should be having, this means that not the right amount of image is going to be printed. Your color is going to be varied. Your picture will not be as sharp as possible because it will not be having the right color capacity. So the same thing goes, right? Like here, when I'm working here, you can see that you are given with these options C, M, Y, K. Yes, it will be distorted or the color is going to be little bit brighter, lighter. So C, M, Y, K and RGB are the both of the ones that are used right here. I have the, okay, so do you have any query still here? Other than that, I also have the option of CMS as well. So CMS is not basically a color itself, but it is a color matching system. This is a way that a piece of software can select a color from an image and reproduce itself. For example, if you have an image of the color car and you want the shade of that exact red color to be used into your image. So what you can do is that you can use a color picker tool. It is the same way we do in our paint. So we can do that by just going on to like for example, if it is a Photoshop and if this is the color that I want right here, I'm going to go right here on this example. This is an eyedropper tool, and what it is going to do that, for example, if I'm going to click right here, so that means that you can see that as I click here, it has given you that exact color number. So that means that this is your exact number right here. These are the codes for that. So it gives you the exact color. Similarly, if you are working into an Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, you can do the same by again going on to this eyedropper tool and selecting the appropriate color. This is red, this is black, this is white, and this is yellow. Other than that, we have also the option of image resolution, and image resolution is, I think, that we have discussed in quite in detail. When we are creating the new file, it gives us the option to select the pixels, right? Like I can select that which image resolution I want. The image resolution is the amount of details that is within an image. That is the number of pixels per inch. That means that the more the pixels you have in an image, the better the quality is it going to be, and the larger the file size is going to be. And if you are going to stretch it, the file size is going to be pixelated. So similarly, for example, if this is an image and if you want to adjust it pixel or something, so you can go into an image, you can go into the image size. So this is the area where you can determine your image size. You can see that it is right now giving you the units in inches. So you can change it to percent, you can change it to pixels, you can change it to centimeter. It's totally up to you. For example, if it's pixels, you can change the amount of pixels, you can play with that, but you need to remember one thing that as you change these settings, your image is going to be impacted because your image might become blurred, your image might become distorted if you are changing or reducing the size of an image. Other than that, we have file formats as well, and there is basically a range of file types that you can use to save your images. These can be selected by selecting an imaging when saving or exporting the image. So some of these file formats are like bitmap, some of the file formats are GIF, some of these file formats are JPEG, some of these file formats are PNG, TIFF, SVG, and PDF. So basically, if this is a bitmap image, these are a range that these formats can offer. For example, if you have a black and white color, if you have a 256 color, you have 4 bits, 16 bits, or 256 bits, so you can actually play with this. The smaller the number of colors, the smaller the file size, but the quality is definitely going to be decreased. If it is a GIF image, that means that this is a compressed form. It is going to reduce the file size, but it is commonly used for images that are online. This format allows you transparency. If you have an JPEG, this JPEG is basically stands for Joint Photographic Experts Group. This is a common format that has a range of color options to reduce the file size. The image is compressed when saved and decompressed when opened. The level of compression can often be right like to alter the balance or compression versus quality. Other than that, you have a PNG as well. A PNG is a format that uses lossless compression to reduce the file size. So you can just go along with these formats. And if you want to save your image as a specific format, so if you want this image to be saved, what you are going to do, you are going to go on to the file tab and you are going to click on to your export button. So when you are going to click on the export button, you are going to have here export for screen. This is the area where you can export. You can select here that which folder you want it to be exported. And similarly, this is the scale. You can change it to the resolution. You can type here as much as resolution you want, and you can change the sizes of that. It gives you different formats. Similarly, if I'm going on to click on if I'm going on to click on save as, so you can see that again you have these formats available right here. So you can export your file, you can save your file. This is your Adobe Illustrator, and if you are going to do that on your Adobe Photoshop, so this is simple. You are going to click on export, quick export as PNG. This is going to export your file as a PNG. If you want to change it, you can export as to a different format. You can save for web, or you can just simply click on save as, and you can change the format right here. As if you want the format to be BMP, JPEG, PNG, or something. So this is as far as this is considered. So as for now, do you have any queries still here? Mm. Other than that, the next area that we are going to discuss is an opacity. And so let's discuss the opacity as well. Whereas 18.3 is considered, we'll start it into the next class. And it is highly important for you that if you have your laptop, you should start practicing these things so that you are aware of the tools. And I believe that just after the next class, this chapter will be finished as well. We can move on to the past papers. So as far as the opacity is concerned, you can see right here. So if you want to change the opacity of that, you can just simply go to window and oh no, if you want to change the opacity, you just have to click on this rectangle, and right here you are going to click here opacity. So here this is the area where you can change the opacity. You can see that if I'm decreasing it, if I'm increasing it, the level of transparency is increasing and decreasing. So it's totally up to you. For example, if this is situated into the question that, for example, if you have a certain object and you want to change its opacity, so you can do that like right like this. Like, for example, this is an object, and if you want to change the opacity, you can do that like this. You can play with this. Other than that, you have another option that is to be known as a blending mode. So blending mode is basically an example of that. For example, if you want to combine two images together, or for example, if you want to come or if you want to make an effect or impact of two images, so you can do that right like this. For example, this is darken, this is darken. If this is darken, you can see that on every of this stage you basically have you basically achieve a different effect of that. So you can play with this if you want, if you have any requirement into your paper. And opacity basically means transparency of something. Like you have two areas, one is opacity, one is transparency. Opacity is the lack of transparency of an image. At 0% the image is going to be fully transparent, whereas transparency is being able to see through an object or not, right? Like for example, if I just turn this opacity to 0%, you are unable to see this. But if this is the way, that means that you can see through them. So this is your transparency. The same way you do in your Adobe Photoshop as well. So for example, if you want this to change your opacity, so you can just click right here and you can change the opacity of that to a different level. It's totally up to you. And on Photoshop, you even have two different options. Either you want to work on to opacity, or either if you work or if you want to work onto your filling area.